PGCE Academic Reading and Writing. Tips and tricks to succeeding. My name is Steph Bennett. I'm a Learning Development Tutor in the Hub. Today's aims: to develop knowledge and understanding of academic reading and writing at Level 7 in preparation for upcoming assignments. We will look at breaking down the brief, academic reading, drafting assignments and peel, and academic style. Breaking down the brief. What is my assignment brief asking me to do? Firstly, take a look at the assignment type. What type of assignment are you being asked to produce? This will change the structure of your academic writing, the component parts of the assignment that you complete. The weighting. What percentage is the weighting? If it's 100%, you know that 100% of your time, focus and effort needs to go into this assignment. If it's 50%, maybe there is another component part to this module. Maybe you need to divvy up your time throughout the week to focus on this assignment and maybe another assignment. So the weighting helps your focus. Think about the task description. It's typically broken down into 3 parts. The instruction. What is it asking you to do? Is it to critically evaluate, critically reflect, critically appraise? What do those things mean? We'll do a task on that shortly. The topic is usually the big picture topic, the umbrella topic of the assignment brief. The angle. This is typically the lens that you are viewing the big picture umbrella topic through. And most of the time on PGCE, it's through the lens of you as a professional practitioner, the children you're teaching, and the perspectives of theory. The word count. This is really helpful to narrow the focus of your academic writing. You don't get to talk about everything, but you get to cherry pick the most important things to discuss. The module outcomes. These are the expectations of your assessor. So a really good thing to do is to break down the module outcomes. What do they mean? What is your assessor looking for in your assignment? They are what we call constructively aligned to the task description. So the task description, if completed properly, will evidence the module outcomes. And finally, the rubric. This is how well you have met the module outcomes. And on your rubric for this first assignment on PGCE, it's asking you to look at current literature, what's happening in professional practice now, wider reading, so not just looking at a couple of sources, but many sources to see who agrees with one another on specific topics. It's asking you to critically analyse and evaluate theoretical perspectives and professional practice. It's asking you to objectively reflect, to take a step back and look at what's happened, how it happened, why it happened, and what you can take from that experience. And they're also looking for sophisticated academic practice. So that means spelling, punctuation, grammar, and APA 7th referencing are on point. So you need to employ your proofreading and editing skills before submission. Let's get talking. Well, as we're online, let's get thinking. Your assignment instructions are on the following slide. But what do they mean? Can you match them to their correct definition? When I flip over the slide, pause the video for 4 minutes. Pause the video. Did you get it right? Analyse means to break down a piece of information or idea. This is where you will see phrases like "this suggests," where you clearly explain what the information tells you about a topic. Critical reflection, it's something that we do as practitioners all the time. We look at the things we've experienced, our actions, our values and our belief system, and we look at what the strengths and limitations of these things are. We also look to the literature to help guide us, and it helps us to move forward in new and improved ways. Demonstrate, show how with examples. Critically argue, analyse and evaluate ideas to present a line of reasoning or point of view. That might be that you end up arguing for a specific pedagogical approach to take in future to better your professional practice. Critically evaluate, to provide and critique evidence to support and contradict an argument. Give your verdict as to what extent the original idea is true or how far you agree with it. That might be that you're looking at an author's line of reasoning for a pedagogical approach. You might take a look at it and think, that would work in my class to some extent, but not to the full extent, and here's why. And synthesize. This is when you look at multiple sources. And if you gauge that multiple sources are saying the same or a similar thing about a topic, you can combine them all together to bolster the argument you're trying to have. Academic reading. Let's look at locating suitable literature. The first thing you're going to look to is your reading list. What is recommended, what is essential, what is core. Have a read of those things. Then, if you want to extend your search further, head to WorldCat, click on the small purple advanced search, and you can add in your keywords. And hopefully it will return sources based on those keywords. If you've not tried it before, try Google Scholar and Boolean searching. You can see I've done an example Boolean search here. We place keywords in speech marks and we separate with the word and. We can also separate synonyms with the word or. And if you feel you're hitting a wall, why not book in with our librarian to help you locate more literature, to expand your reading? With books, have a look at the contents. Are there chapters related to the things you want to explore in your assignment? Have a look at the index for keywords related to the topic you're exploring. For academic journals, read the abstract. Read the conclusion. What does that tell you about the source? Skim read your chapters and your journal articles. You might want to decide at the end of this whether these sources are suitable for close reading. And if you want to expand your search even further, who are the authors that you're reading citing? Can you go and locate these original sources? Do your authors have other publications? Maybe they've got a more recent academic journal that you could use. And when documenting your findings from literature, it's probably best to keep them all in one place, and this is why I use a synthesis matrix or a reading table. You can see it on the screen now. In the left-hand side, I pop in the APA 7th reference of the piece I intend to read or the piece I am currently reading. As I'm reading, in the middle column, I make a note of the overall themes, the overall ideas or arguments of the author, any data they have collected, any quotes that I think that's quite nice, I probably could use that in my assignment. And as I get deeper into the reading, I might start to see those authors that agree with one another, or the authors who disagree with one another on specific topics. So I can make a note of that in the far right-hand column. This will help me to synthesize my sources in my academic writing. There are many versions of this table, but this is just one if you would like to download a copy from the Learning Development Blackboard. Drafting assignments. Let's get thinking again. You're drafting an essay. What do you need to feature in the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion? Pause the video for 3 minutes and jot down your ideas. Create a bones assignment. Feed into it as you read. You can use your reading table. Make sure your main body paragraphs are written using the peel structure. Between 100 and 300 words, I typically use around 200 to 250, but that's totally up to you. Just make sure if you're going beyond that, closer to the 300 mark, that you've remained on the point and you haven't gone off on a tangent. If necessary, you can also use subtitles in the main body to signpost the reader, although sometimes this might not be required. And here is a draft for this first assignment. You can adapt it, you can shape it, you can use it how you would like to. Please always pass any drafts that you have through your tutors before using them. So the main introduction for this first assignment is around 500 words. You might want to include a hook sentence to outline the topic and draw the reader in. The topic is reflection, but we're also looking at significant incidents. You might want to offer some brief background information, some context. What is reflection? Support it with literature. What is a significant incident? Support it with literature. Then bring it back to the focus and purpose of the assignment. What message are you trying to get across? What reflective frameworks are you going to use? Justify using these reflective frameworks for your significant incidents and back up with literature. You might want to offer a map. This essay will begin by using Brookfield's lenses to reflect on a significant incident in which. Something like that lets the reader know what's coming next. Then you can break up the main body. So we have significant incident 1, 2,250 words approximately. We've started out with a little introduction to Brookfield's lenses and what exactly they are. Then we've broken down the main body into the autobiographical, the student lens, the peer lens and the theoretical lens, in which you will reflect on your incident from each of these lenses. I've also popped in a very short conclusion because Brookfield's lenses typically doesn't have one of these. But it's up to you, you might not want to include that. Then I've moved to significant incident 2, again 2,250 words. For this one I've chosen Gibbs' reflective cycle. I've kind of followed a similar structure to the first incident where I've given a little bit about the reflective cycle to begin with. Then I've broken down the reflective cycle into 3 parts, even though I know it's made up of 6, because I've teamed together descriptions and feelings, evaluation and analysis of the incident, and conclusion and action plan for moving forward after the incident. And you can do the same thing. You can see here I've added in an overall conclusion for the whole assignment, but that's only if the word count permits you to, because actually you might find that you've used up all of your words by this point. If you do use an overall conclusion, you can refer back to the original focus and purpose of the assignment, as in what you set out to do and why. You can summarise what you found out, you can reiterate the importance of those things that you have found out, and also reiterate what your next steps are in your professional practice to avoid significant incidents such as this again. And then finally, you'll add in your ref list. Please use the Academic Integrity Guide for this. Just type it into Blackboard and it'll pop up. And I've done 2 examples there for you. I've done a Piaget book and I have done a Vygotsky book, both of which are available on our WorldCat. So one of the things that you can focus on in this little draft is those nuts and bolts sentences I've included underneath the little subtitles. Hopefully you can get a feel of the tone of the academic writing here, and then you can emulate this in a similar manner in your own academic writing. Level 7, we're looking for a little bit more elevated tone, but still very clear. and we need you to draw from the academic literature to support the things you're trying to say. Use peel paragraphs. What point do you want to make at the start of the paragraph? Now, who in the literature is discussing this point and what are they saying? You can use a direct quote, or because you're level 7, it's probably stronger to paraphrase, to put it into your own words to show how you have understood and interpreted it. Now explain what this suggests to you and why it's significant, and then wrap up your paragraph. Typically in the link, I use phrases like overall or ultimately or as a result. Here's one example. A scaffolding approach can facilitate differentiation between pupils of different abilities. Smith advocates that scaffolding allows the teacher to. This is further underpinned by, here you can see the synthesis, Barnett, Travis and Zeeby. They're not real authors, by the way, who highlight. And then we can see we've drawn on placement experience. Accordingly, while on placement, I identified the value of scaffolding in a phonics lesson in which. Then we've got these critical nuts and bolts sentences. This suggests that. This might be interpreted as. This is significant because. Those phrases will help you to explain that evidence that has come before it. And finally, as a result, this strategy will complement my future professional practice because. So this peel paragraph here might be an example of a recommendation for future practice based on something you've read and also something you've seen. Academic style. I don't know if you've seen this episode of Friends, but this is exactly what we're going to talk about. Academic writing should be clear, concise and understandable. You need to get to the point and stick to the point. That's what we know as unity. And then you need to make sure that your sentences flow nicely into one another, and so do your ideas. So paragraph to paragraph, the reader doesn't lose where they are. Avoid starting sentences with but, because or and. They're just not strong enough. They're conjunctions. Avoid contractions. Don't would equal do not. Always cite in text. If you're unsure, head to the Academic Integrity Guide, the blue videos. Typically, it's a bracket with a surname, a year and a page number. If you're citing from the Department for Education, you would write Department for Education as opposed to a surname. And always make sure that every citation has a corresponding reference at the end. And here you can see I've done a quick ebook reference for you. Again, head to the Academic Integrity Guide on Blackboard to locate this information. Avoid trying to sound academic. This is what people often fall foul of. Just be clear. Let's think back to that Friends episode, Joey writing the letter to the adoption agency on behalf of Monica and Chandler and using a thesaurus on every single word to the point where it just didn't make any sense at all. Now let's look at some examples where people have done this. Have a read of this. Pause the video for a few minutes. What is this? Did you get it right? Currently defrosting as we speak, it is Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. How about this one? Pause the video for a few minutes. Did you get it right? It is Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. So we're not looking for this. We just want to understand very clearly what you're trying to say. So let's have a look at sentence structure and finding that flow when I was speaking about cohesion before, from sentence to sentence. That means our punctuation and grammar need to be spot on. Which is the strongest of the two? Pause the video for a few minutes and have a read. Did you get it right? It is the second one. The first one doesn't have a full stop until the end. It has some awkwardly placed commas that make it difficult to read. You can see the second example kind of follows a peel paragraph structure. I think if we added some literature after the second sentence, it very much would be a peel paragraph. You can also see we've got full stops after academic writing, after being discussed, after most important points, and at the very end. It also uses signposting language. Ultimately, this is because, as a result. So it tells the reader what is happening next in the sentence. Finally, moving forward, head to the Learning Development Blackboard course if you need further support with your academic writing. Head to the Academic Integrity Guide Blackboard course if you need support with APA 7th referencing. And you're always welcome to book in with Learning Development to check your spelling, punctuation, grammar and referencing. With digital learning, if you need support with the digital aspects of your assignments like formatting long documents or working with PowerPoint. And definitely book in with the library if you need support locating suitable academic literature. And if you need to just drop a quick query to someone, there's my email address, stephanie.bennett@bishopg.ac.uk.